This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Regina Lee.
Well, hello, Susan. I have Susan Shure Travel Agency, the owner, Susan, with us today. Thank you and welcome.
Hi, Regina. Thank you for having me.
And I know you're right here in the South Charlotte area, which makes it extra special. So first question, I just have to ask, how did you get into this? Because I'm a wee bit jealous.
Well, I was doing this for fun, for family and friends. I love planning travel. I just love it. I love the research of it. I love all of it. A number of friends suggested I start doing this as a career, and I took the suggestion. My previous life, I was a stay-at-home mom. I ran an afternoon Hebrew school when we lived up north. So when we moved here, I really became a stay-at-home mom and was looking for something to do. And in 2019, I took the plunge. Of course, I had to do it right before COVID started.
Oh, dear. Of course. Oh, my goodness. How long were you kind of shut down with all of that?
I never actually shut down. I had clients that were traveling even during COVID. Maybe they were doing it in the US, maybe they were doing it in the Caribbean, but I had clients that were still traveling.
Do you work with for business travel as well?
I do.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. Yeah. So I noticed just reviewing your website, you are a luxury travel concierge and curator. Tell me and tell our listeners, what does that mean in your world of travel advisors?
So for me, that means private planes, private yachts, potentially renting a house or staying at the Rosewood or Four Seasons or the Fairmont or the Burj in Dubai, any number of those things, and putting together luxury experiences like private shopping sprees or closing out Harrods and having, a private shopping spree in Harrods, private cooking class at Gordon Ramsay's Academy, a safari by snowmobile, dog sled, and reindeer sleigh in Finland, a trip on the Venice Simpson Orient Express. So any of these things are really high-end luxury experiences.
That is amazing. And I understand you have a boutique team that helps you stay on top of your clients and offer that extra touch. Share with us your services like that.
So we will do anything as far as a booking, as much or as little as the client wants. And I have some clients that come to me and they really have a good idea of what they want, but they just need me to book it. And I can do that. Or we start from scratch. I research options for you, give you excursion options, and we go from there. So it really can be done in any of those ways. I do want to mention that I do charge a research and planning fee because as a professional, my service has value. So I like to charge those fees for the research and planning.
Describe a trip that you've planned, whether recently or since you've been, that in your opinion was like, oh my goodness, I want to do this one day.
I had a client that went to Australia and Japan. He spent a week in Australia, went to the Outback, went to Uluru Rock, went down to Port Douglas, and then flew to Japan and spent 2 weeks going from one end of Japan to the other.
Wow.
Dream trip.
Absolutely. I mean, when it comes to dream trips, my mind is just going all the way from African safaris to, you
That's a
know,
bucket list item for me.
yeah, private yacht. I could go on and on. Yeah, what is your bucket list? When you sit here and work with all these people, I would think you just go, oh my goodness.
I mean, as I said, the African safari is definitely up there. Antarctica and the Galapagos.
Amazing.
Those are, to me, those are bucket lists. But I actually just did a bucket list item. We traveled around the country for a month driving, and we went to Field of Dreams.
Oh my goodness. That is super cool. Are you a big baseball fan? Is that what?
Yes, and it was our son's graduation trip. He graduated
Oh,
from high school in June, so this was his graduation trip. So it was all about the sports for him, and Field of Dreams was on that list, and it was a bucket list item without question.
how amazing. So I'm just imagining these initial phone calls you get with potential clients. And do you find that most people are just kind of just don't even know where to begin? Maybe they know the destination, but they don't know what, how, what, all of that. Talk
Yes.
about that process of pulling out from them the things that will make it their great trip.
So I have a questionnaire, and one of the things that I ask is, what was the best trip you've ever taken? Because that helps me to figure out what things you're going to like, what things you're going to like to do, what kind of accommodations you like, and then we move on from there.
How far out should people start planning a big trip?
So we're in the end of August. If you're thinking about spring break, think about it now.
Okay. And you can try, so you can do any kind of trip, cruises, river,
Anything.
anything, anything.
I have a lot of certifications in a lot of different areas. I spend a lot of my time educating myself and taking classes so that I know the destinations, I know the suppliers, I know which supplier is best to use for what trip. I'm working on a Maldives trip for a client right now, and I have a fabulous supplier I use.
So those relationships then are key for you.
They really matter.
Wow. And you stay then in that luxury world.
Yes.
What are some of the misconceptions that you find when you're talking to potential clients?
There are a lot of clients that think that a good agent doesn't charge fees. That's not true. And I think that there are a lot of more and more, especially after COVID, a lot of agents are charging fees because of the value we bring to the table. Our time is valuable. Your time is valuable. And we don't want to waste it either way. Another misconception is that we get paid by the supplier. Yes, we do, but only if a booking is paid in full and traveled. So if I'm sitting on the phone giving you quotes and you go book it yourself, I'm not going to get paid for that.
Mm-hmm.
All that time I spent with you, I'm not going to get paid for it. Another misconception is that we cost more to use. When everything's said and done, we don't. Because the time that you spend sitting on the phone with a supplier, be that Costco or anybody else, we will save you because we do that. We sit on the phone for you.
Well, I would think just some of these trips you just described, the Japan and Australia, where would you begin as a person trying to book something like that?
And
And
that's
not
the
even,
other thing.
yeah, not even knowing what all you could do when you get there, I think is the value for me.
Exactly. It's put together for you. Having connections on the ground in destination. This client that went to Australia and Japan, he left his passport at one of the hotels. Realized it when he got to the airport.
Oh, no.
I called the hotel and they couriered it to the airport.
And that happened by the client reaching out to you. Is that okay? Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're thinking about language barriers and all that other that you just don't even think about. Yeah.
Exactly.
Amazing.
When he was on the ground in Japan, I had contacts on the ground, and his driver, his guide, they spoke English. They escorted him. He took the train through Japan. They escorted him on the train. It's those little things.
Yeah. Yeah. These are dream trips, absolute dream trips. Yeah. I guess you make dreams come true.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, your website is just beautiful. You have these relationships with very high-end luxury places, and you've got a wonderful travel blog and gallery. So your next trip, you think the Galapagos Islands? Is that where you're thinking?
Well, my next trip is actually going to be the Dominican Republic. I'm heading to Casa de Campo at the end of September. So
I've been there. Beautiful. Many, many years ago. How fun is that? When you are planning your own trip, now you told us about the Field of Dreams, and that was a good story, but how do you just narrow it down in your own head where you want to go?
So we've done 9 cross-country trips as a family. And with this one, we focused on where our son wanted to go and what sporting events he wanted to see, what arenas he wanted to tour, things like that, and narrowed it down from there. And we did not go pretty much anywhere that we didn't want to go. And if we'd been there before, we were going there because we wanted to go again.
That's amazing. I know from personal experience, when you travel, long distances, having that nice balance between having a good pace of activities pre-planned, but yet that downtime that becomes necessary just to catch your breath, and spend an afternoon maybe at the resort pool. But, I guess getting to know your clients in that questionnaire is a big piece to understand their style.
Yes, definitely.
Well, amazing. Susan, I appreciate your time. Why don't you tell us how to reach you?
My website, www.susanshuretravel.com. And Shure is spelled Shure. A lot of people don't know that. My email, susan@susanshuretravel.com, and my phone, 609-306-0905. And if you go to my website, all that information's on there.
Absolutely perfect. Well, this has been very inspiring. My head is, really reeling right now of all the things I'd love to do. And it's been a pleasure speaking with you today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpsouthcharlotte.com. That's gnpsouthcharlotte.com. Or call 980-351-5719.